Hey everyone, in the last lecture we discussed about variables and naming conventions in variables, how to name them, the rules behind naming a variable, right? And I think you pretty much got an idea how we declare the variable. So in this lecture we are going to discuss about data types in Python. So you might be wondering or thinking that what is a data type and why do we need it, right? So let's first create a Python file. Okay. Here I'll type a variable, let's say a is equals to 10. Okay. The first one is a is equals to 10 and the second variable, let's say b is equals to, which stores my name Yuvraj. Right. I'll run this and the value is stored inside the respective variable. Now, if I say this is also the data, 10 is a data, Yuvraj is also a data, and these are stored inside the respective variables a and b. The type of this data is numerical, right? This is the numerical data and this is a character data, right? These are the character sequence of characters. So if I check type of a, this is the command to check the type of any variable. Don't worry about it. Okay, this is just a simple function, type of a. So when we run this, it says it's a int. Int represents integers. So it's telling me that a is the type, a is of type integers. While on the other hand, if we write type of b, it is it is of type string. Str is represents strings, right? So these both are different. So how do we differentiate different kind of data types and what is a data type exactly? So in order to learn the concept, let's head back to our presentation which I've created for you guys. So here, data types in Python presented by PyCoding Tech. So in our childhood, in our school, we must have learned about states of matter, right? Matter is present in different states. Commonly known states are liquid, solid, and gas, right? So the liquid have different characteristics or values than solid. The atoms are more closer in solid and wider in far away in liquid and farthest in the gas, right? So they have different kind of characteristics. Each of them are different, right? So same in any programming, there is a different set of data present, which is differentiable in terms of their characteristics, right? So let's discuss about what kind of data types are available in Python. So there are four commonly used data types, which are integers, floats, strings, and booleans. Right now, we are going to discuss about these four only. There are more than 10 data types, but right now, as you are just getting started with Python, I'll be discussing these four because these four covers most of the Python. So you don't need to worry about that. So first discuss about integers, okay? So what is an integer? Integer, you must have heard this term before as well, right? In Python, integers are the values like numbers without any fractional part, without decimal. So integers are zero, positive or negative numbers. Integers can be zero, negative or positive numbers, but make sure they are without the decimal part. If a number is without a decimal part, okay, then it will be considered as an integer. For example, if I write 10,000, it is an integer. If I write minus 100, this will be an integer. If I write something like this, 546456, this will be an integer. If I write something like this will still be an integer until unless there is a dot or a decimal with the number attached. Okay, so these all will be considered as integers. Okay, now we'll come to the second data type which is available in Python, and the second data type is floats, floating point numbers. Okay, so what are floating point numbers? Basically numbers with the decimal part. So in integers, what happened? Numbers without decimal are called integers and numbers with decimal are called floats. For example, 133.5, 10.0, this will also be considered as a float because there is a decimal part attached to it. Okay, so here there is no decimal, but while we are dealing with floats, let's say c is equals to 100.00, and if we check the type of c now, it is going to tell us that it is a type float, right? Even though the value after decimal is zero, still if there is a decimal, it will be considered as a float. So I hope you are clear with the difference between integers and floats, right? Now let's get to the third and most important data type, which is string. String will be having a separate lecture for itself. The next lecture is going to be on strings and it's going to take half an hour or 40 minutes of a lecture to complete about the string. So first, I'd like you to understand what is a string. string is nothing just a sequence of characters which is represented inside quotes. Everything which is inside quotes will be treated as a string in Python. Anything and everything. If you put quotes uh, at the start and the close of it, if you put anything inside quotes, it is going to be treated as string. What are quotes? I'll also tell you. So these are called as the quotation marks. These one, okay? This, and I'll zoom it for you. So these are considered as quotation marks. This or the single quote, okay? So this is the double quote. This is the single quote. So anything present inside these will be considered as strings. So if I write, let's say, I'll create a new line. If I write, let's say, Yuvraj, and I'll assign it to a variable called as D. Okay, and here I'll check the type of D. The output will be string, str, which represents string, right? The output will be string. But what if I write 100 over here? This is a number, right? 100 is a number, but it is present inside the codes. So now you can see it's still printing string because the number is present inside the code. So anything which is inside quotes will be considered as string in Python. So I hope you got my point. And even though we change it to like decimal number, it will still going to print string only. Okay. So I think you are clear with the strings. What are strings? Not whole string, just the basic definition. What are strings? Sequence of characters present inside the codes are considered as strings in Python. Now here comes the simplest type of data type in Python, and which is Booleans. Boolean contains of two values. One is true and another one is false. There is no third value present in Booleans. I'll tell you how. I'll create a new line. So let's say f is equals to true. Make sure T is capital, okay? F is equals to true. This is considered to be a Boolean type. So if we check type of f is going to be presented by bool, which represents booleans. Okay, so let's say type of e is equals to false. Okay, then we are going to check type of e and it's going to return bool again. So there are only two values in boolean data type, which are true and false. And why does boolean exist? We'll be learning that in future classes, in future lectures. You don't need to worry about that. Just remember that this thing exists. But why? We'll talk later. So I hope you're clear with the basic four data types, which are integers, numbers, which numbers are considered as integers without the fractional part, but numbers with the decimal part or fractional part is considered as floats. While on the other hand, sequence of characters that can be anything inside the quotes will be considered as strings. Okay, and here comes the simplest version, which is the Boolean. So Boolean contains of two values, true and false. I hope you guys are able to understand these four data types in Python, because we'll be learning more about strings in the next lecture. And while in this lecture, we got to know about the integer, string, float, and Boolean. So thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next lecture.